Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the February the 17th, 2025 meeting of your Board of Commissioners to order. We will start with the invocation delivered by Reverend Tharrington, and then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and our school board member, Philip Butler, will lead us in the pledge. If you would all stand, please.
Let us bow our heads. Eternal God, our fathers, we come before your presence on this evening. We acknowledge you. We acknowledge your presence. We thank you for being with us and among us. We thank you for our county leaders tonight. We thank you for this meeting. Thank you for our chair, our vice chair, all of our commissioners, and all of our county officials. Bless the deliberation, the discussion tonight. Thank you, God, that you're giving them wisdom and knowledge and insight as they lead the citizens of Rockingham County. Bless this meeting tonight where you get the glory, the honor, and the praise out of it. It's our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Everybody will face the flag and render a proper salute. Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to thank both of you for helping us tonight with those, the invocation and the pledge. Next, we do operate from an agenda. We do have one modification to the agenda. That's item 5D that we would like to pull from the agenda. With that one modification, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Next is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda tend to be non-controversial. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do have questions about items on the consent agenda, please reach out to county administration. They'll be glad to provide you with information pertaining to those items and help resolve those questions. With that, do we have a motion to approve items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hall.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Callum. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Next, we do have the public comment period. We do have two people that signed up for public comment. So, Lance, if you wouldn't mind reading the rules pertaining to public comment.
Yes, absolutely. The public comment period should be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business on items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. Remarks should be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners and not to staff, the audience, or media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name, physical address, when he or she approaches the podium. Citizens shall be allotted 3 minutes. They're allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing one more attendee's time. This would allow no more than 6 minutes. The total amount of time allotted for the public comment is 30 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor in front of you. The clock will start with 3 minutes unless time is yielded. You will hear a beep at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you already yield your time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairperson know in advance. Speakers will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements. Written statements can be delivered to the county manager's office. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. First is Neil Jakes.
My name is Neil Jakes. My address is 260 Chinquapin Trail, Reedsville. It's again my pleasure to be able to address the county commissioners with regard to the countywide food drive. This is year number 15 for the countywide food drive, and I'd like to give a little report on what's happened last year and kind of where we are this year. In 2024, we collected 48,907 pounds of food. And additionally, we collected $3,927 in cash donations. So it was lots of benefits to agencies around the county. There are 8 agencies that we work with, and they are all wonderful agencies. I'd like to mention them if I could. The Salvation Army, they have their pantry in Reedsville, as well as their soup kitchen in Eden. Men and Women in Christ in Reedsville. Cormai Community Development, also in Reedsville. Now, these places, I'm telling you where the local addresses, they always remind me that they service throughout the county, but this is where their office is. Cornerstone Christian Center in Reedsville, Rockingham County Veterans Coalition in Wentworth, Focus, which is for fostering opportunities in communities and uniting services in Eden, Cooperative Christian Ministries in Eden, and Hands of God in Madison. These are agencies of the utmost integrity, and they do a wonderful job in distributing the food. We have some special friends that we have that have helped us out this year. White Owl National Stoneworks has helped us considerably, and we have been blessed with a lot of help from the Rockingham County office employees here, and we thank Daniel Cruz and we thank Melissa Joyce for what they do. We have a Facebook page, which is can get all the information you want about them. That Facebook page is Rockingham County, North Carolina Food Drive, and we have a website which is rkcfooddrive.org. Thank you again for allowing us to speak to you, and thanks for the support that we've gotten over the years. This is, as I mentioned, our 15th year of a food drive that when we started it, first year, 2011, we thought was going to be 1 year. And we've had blessed a lot of families, so thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do. And perhaps this is a tag team, because next on the list is Miss Ann Fish, and I see she's there with you.
Well, I don't think he got through all his notes, so if you don't mind, we'll let him take over.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to say this. I was looking at some information the other day. You guys, the county government, has been involved since day one. 15 years ago, we were going to do it that 1 year, and here we are 15 years later. But anyway, I'll let him finish his, and we appreciate all the help we get from you guys, and especially from Mr. Cruz back here. He's new this year, and he's done a lot to help us get the signs and everything else. So I'll let you go back to Neil, please.
Okay, I had a couple of experiences that happened last year. I call them, on my notes, I just call them good vibes, because they were really uplifting for me. Leaksville Spray Elementary School did a food drive for us last year and collected 1,052 pounds of food. That's incredible for an elementary school. We had someone go over there with their truck to pick up the food, and he called me and said, I can't put any more food in the truck. And I got a call from one of the people at the school that said, we still got some more food you need to pick up. So it was, but that was just unbelievable, that amount of food. We had a Boy Scout group in Madison, Mayland Scouts, that collected 838 pounds of food, specifically for the Hands of God. We had the Fire Marshal's office, Melissa Joyce again, 788 pounds of food through that office. Amazing. There was a family that did a food drive in their neighborhood, collected 537 pounds of food. Holmes Middle School collected 500 pounds of food. That's not rounding. That actually came into exactly 500 pounds. Central Elementary School, 492 pounds. It just went on and on that with these organizations that have just done a wonderful job, and it's heartwarming to see what these organizations have done in helping us out. So thank you for letting us speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank both of you. Yes. Okay. Next, we go to item 7, and that's A under 7, Miss Lisa Ellington.
Good evening, Chairman and other commissioners and our county management. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak. If you'll be reminded, back fall of the year, we had a request for application that we submitted to you with approval for up to $2 million to be awarded in grant funding with opioid settlement money. Of that, we are here tonight to discuss one proposal that was submitted and has been supported by county administration as well as a guest panel evaluation committee. The reason we had a guest committee this time is because there was so much interest from the county that where it created a conflict of interest. We decided that was in the best interest so that it was transparent. This proposal was submitted by the Rockingham County Department of Public Health, and their organization was requesting the funding to add a position as part of their medications for opioid use disorder programming. They have partnered with the North Carolina Formerly Incarcerated Transition Program, and the short acronym for that is FIT, and they want to implement that, which is an evidence-based model that has been developed by Transitions Clinic Network. Through collaboration and strategic planning within their established MOUD program, they hope to address Strategy 12, which is a reentry program for those that are currently incarcerated that may be released from incarceration and in need of support. They plan to support reentry by adding a position in your packet. You perhaps saw community health worker listed as the title of that role, but in communication with county administration, the title already exists as a certified peer support specialist. So that would be the preferred role. The job descriptions are exactly the same. This would not require us to go through a reclassification, and it would expedite the hiring process to do so. So if that could be substituted with certified peer support specialist, that would be our recommendation for this proposal. They would provide not only the services that are specific to peer support, but also they would need experience working collaboratively with those treatment programs and community-based programs that assist with substance misuse. The primary function of the role is to provide individualized and group support, empowering coaching, education, and case management services to those who are being released from incarceration who suffer from chronic disease, substance use disorder, and/or mental illness. Indicators of success for this project would include the number of formerly incarcerated clients engaged and the number of referrals made to needed services, including substance misuse treatment, and to decrease recidivism. And for those in the community that may not understand what that term means, it simply means oftentimes when people are released from incarceration, there's a tendency for them to reoffend. So that would be a way that they would try to put services in place so that maybe we can reduce the rate of recidivism. Rockingham County Division of Public Health is uniquely and strategically placed to provide whole patient care in meeting referral needs through primary care, dental care, and the MOUD program. They are requesting for this position and for whatever supports for that position, $166,625 per year. It is up to 3 years, and their total allocation request is for $499,875 for the wraparound services for this population.
Okay. And our liaison and member of the Health and Human Service Board, Commissioner Barrow, I believe you got some questions.
So Lisa, I would just like to, so obviously as you're going through that list, it makes sense to me because we deal with this pretty regularly, but to put a point on everything that you just said, Mr. Wright's not here tonight, I would have him do it. But basically what we're trying to accomplish with this through this program is to try to intercept people that are dealing with opioid use disorder as they're coming out of incarceration and trying to link them up with services that are provided by the county, such as primary care, and getting them situated with the medication for opioid use disorder to try to get them back to be productive members of society. Would you say that's a pretty good summation of what we're doing?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay. And then, because I know it's going to be asked, let me go ahead and hit Lance with this. So Lance, if this is approved, this position would be tied to those opioid funds, and this position would not be continued once opioid funds are dispersed. Is that correct?
Unless the majority of the board
Unless
wants to continue.
unless we change our minds in the
Yes,
future?
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Commissioner Richardson?
Thank you for your presentation. Very pleased with the program, very pleased that the county is doing more than they have in the past. It's kind of hard to quantify. You mentioned something I was particularly pleased with, where you were talking about some metrics to measure your success. One of the things you mentioned was recidivism. Is there a number that you're looking for in terms of the rate we have now and what we want it to go down to?
That's a good question that I don't have an answer for. I apologize, I wasn't prepared for that.
So it's okay. I'm trying to get information out to the public, but I would hope you would include in your reports what will come in the future, those sorts of comparisons, so the public will know what this opioid money, not that it's taxpayer money per se at this point, but I do think the public's interested, and I would like for them to know the success that we're looking for. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, or do we have a motion?
Can I take one more swing at it?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Barrow.
So Lisa, one more thing that, again, since you and I are immersed in this a lot, just for the benefit of the public. So a lot of times when we have people that are under the influence of substances, it can be a long time between them having seen a doctor, between them seeing a dentist, and a lot of times we need to address those needs before these people can get jobs and, you know, be productive. So could you just sort of touch on how this program with services we provide here at the county will help with that?
Yes, sir. So what we would do is upon, there has to be a pre-release plan so that we know that these people are being released from incarceration, know what we've identified as their needs, and go ahead establish an appointment with the Department of Public Health so that they could go in, they could get all their labs done, they could get an assessment of where they are medically speaking, discuss their substance use history, if any provision for their substance use disorder was provided while incarcerated, and if so, we would want to continue that treatment. So we would look at all of those things. Obviously, other wraparound services that are important to this population is, do they have a place to call home and food supplies and things like that? So what would happen is the Department of Public Health, they would offer the services that they have within their scope, but they also have linked themselves with other departments within the county that can provide the services that maybe they don't provide. And so it's kind of like a continuity of care. We want to make sure that they're continuing to receive what they've already started, and that we add to that whatever gaps that they're lacking in services, that we can get them situated for that, not only through public health, but through Daymark Recovery, through any number of other treatment programs that are in Rockingham County, through integrated health care. There's just a number of resources in the county, so we would all work collectively together to make sure that they have the opportunity to get those services.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to make a motion to.
Hang tight if you,
Sorry.
Commissioner Hall's got a question.
That's okay. We'll let you do that in just a minute. But item 8 in the questionnaire, it makes the assumption, or the anticipation was, that MAT services were going to begin being offered at the jail February 1st. Has that commenced at this point?
I would have to lean into the sheriff's office or.
We'll ask them, and they're here tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it. So the sheriff says that has commenced. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I believe not long ago, I had asked the question about how much money we have devoted toward dealing with the opioid issue, and I believe that number was in the neighborhood of $700,000. And I don't believe this was part of that, so now it's about $860,000 that we've earmarked, which is really the only thing that the commissioners can do, is put dollars towards that issue and ask for other things to occur. But so with that, yes, sir.
Derek said that he thinks that the number is a little higher. Derek, do you have a closer ballpark?
Closer ballpark would be near 2 million committed.
All right, but
Of this multi-year program.
yes, with the multi-year, but the 1 year was, okay, all right.
So like this particular proposal is almost $500,000 for that 3-year time frame. So broken down, it's 166, some odd $1,000 per year.
But you're right, annually, it's close to $900,000 per year with the continuing basis per year.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you. With that, do we have a motion by Commissioner Barrow, and do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hall, all in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next, Ms. Ursel Young. And Mitch with Davenport, I believe is, okay.
Yes, sir.
And help me with your last name. I'm sorry, Mitch.
Julio.
Julio.
Pergulia.
Okay.
Mitch from Davenport works.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Allison to the rescue.
yeah, it's on. Okay.
She didn't bring her duct tape.
Good evening, Chairman Berger, Commissioners, and City County Manager Metzler. Tonight, I am here just to give you a brief overview of the wonderful projects that we have been able to accomplish at Rockingham County Schools with the help and partnership of the county, our county commissioners, and Rockingham County Schools. As previously stated, we have been able to put vestibules in our schools, and if you look, our school principals are having a really good time with this. They are actually going in and making the doors inviting, so it is not what you would typically think for a vestibule in some of our schools, and we're very excited about that. We've also had parking lot lighting projects that have gone on, and we're pleased to say that all of our schools now have intercom updates, and that is so important as far as safety is concerned in our schools. No school, no elementary school, is complete without a safe playground. And here is a picture of 2 of our playgrounds that we have been able to install. And the picture on the left is a picture of some steps that were very unsafe prior to the installation, and we are so excited about that. I will say that one of our staffs actually used the playground as their Christmas card, and they were able to get the whole staff on one of these playgrounds. We also have other projects that are going on. And finally, we are able to replace roofs in our schools. And over on the right, you can see that Lincoln Elementary, Central Elementary, and Holmes Elementary, in addition to Reidsville High School's auditorium. And this is a visual of the low slope at Lincoln Elementary School. As you can see, that was a beautiful transformation of that roof that we are so excited about. We also have HVAC projects that are going on now, and we're excited about those. I think that our schools are excited about it, and I'm going to turn this over to Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch, I'm going to try.
You're good. I don't know that I need the slides.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me this evening. I am going to, let's see, I don't know even how to do this.
We're going to go down. Let's go down here and see.
You go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep it brief this evening. I wanted to come in conjunction with Ursel in the update on the capital projects and give you all an update of the capital funding plan ahead of the upcoming financing. As some of you all may recall, last January, the board approved the initial school funding plan. As part of that funding plan, there were 2 financings included in that plan. We're currently in the process of working on the first financing. So wanted to give you this update ahead of that so you had the background headed into some upcoming board actions. But I'm not going to walk through all the slides tonight. I'll give you the summary takeaways and then happy to answer questions and go through as much detail as you'd like. But essentially what the slides will demonstrate for you is that the county has maintained a strong credit rating. It's viewed favorably by the financial markets. That gives you access to borrow money when you need to. You've established good debt policies. The board has adopted debt policies. You're in compliance with all of your debt policies, and you have the capacity to take on the planned financings. You've taken a disciplined approach to funding school capital from a budgetary perspective. And that has provided you the affordability to fund the school funding plan and gives you the ability to continue funding capital into the future. And so all of that is captured in here, as well as the updates for completed projects and bid projects, updated amounts for all the various capital projects that you all are working on in conjunction with the schools. Next steps in the process for us, we have distributed an RFP to banks and actually received those responses in the process of evaluating them, but very encouraged by the responses that we've received. We'll be coming to you all at your next meeting on March 3rd to take your initial action as part of the financing if you choose to do that. And part of that action will be selecting the financing approach and the lender if you choose to. From there, we'll come back to you for your final approval on March 17th, and that'll be the final county board approval. That night, we'll also be looking for a school action that's required from the schools as well. Then we'll go to the local government commission on April 1st for their approval and close on the financing on or about April 10th. So a couple actions coming up from you all, and thought this would be helpful background headed into those.
Thank you. Yes, and I believe all of those projects are things that are on the capital plan that Commissioner Hall, myself, school board members, Kimberly McMichael and Paula Rakestraw worked hard on to get both boards' blessings. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Hall.
You said you're getting proposals back. Are they kind of what we expected, or are they?
Yes, sir. They're below the planning estimates from what we've evaluated. So far.
Very good. Thank you, Mitch. We appreciate your guidance and assistance on this, and Davenport, you've been a key part of this. So thank you very much. The numbers I think we were looking at this first round. Was that, about 12 or 14 million? What was that?
Yes,
number?
sir. We're looking at about a $12 million, just over a $12 million financing, and that's down a little bit from the initial assumptions as some projects have come in. And you may notice in the funding plan, given the grant that you all have received, not anticipating at this point that the second financing will be necessary to continue with the same plan. So to be continued on that, but not currently planning for that second financing at
Yeah,
this
because it
time.
looked like in a couple of years, it looks like that number was potentially coming down quite some.
Yes, sir. It obviously, a $7.5 million grant helps a lot. And so kind of got it down to the point where it felt like makes sense to fund that with reserves that you'll have built up at this point in time. And we'll continue to evaluate that annually as we do.
Thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Thank y'all.
You folks.
Next, I believe Commissioner Hall had asked for this to be on the agenda. Sheriff Page.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I would, while the sheriff and his staff are coming, the sheriff and I had talked back in December, and after our meeting that we held, I guess it was October, November, we got clarification that some of these things have been taken care of. And I thought it was only fair to ask him to come and let the public know what's been happening, the improvements that they have made. So thank you for being here tonight, Sheriff.
Chairman, Commissioners, I've asked my Operational Commander and Chief Deputy to put together a report, and if he will present tonight, he's in the weeds all the time, so I wanted him to present so you get an accurate picture of where we're at and what we've been doing. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you.
Thank you.
So just some of those things that we talked about in the past, go down a list of things that have been completed. Shower repair has been completed. That was 33 showers that were cleaned, grinded down, primed, sealed, and recaulked. At the end of last year, we replaced the tilt skillet, which was in the kitchen, something we were continuously trying to get fixed that was no longer repairable and had to be replaced. There was a jockey pump in the system, which was for water pressure. It controlled water pressure for the sinks and showers in case it ever dropped. Once the water system here in Wentworth was upgraded, that was no longer needed. It had been operational for a while. We finally had the county come in, take it out. It was no longer needed, so it will no longer be on that inspection. We do have 24/7 nurse coverage in the detention center now. The medication-assisted treatment program is up and running. It did get started February 1st. As of today, we have one inmate who has been placed on MAT. We have two that are on the continuation of care under the ADA rules, so 3 total. Purchased a CardioCare EKG machine for our nursing staff to use. Our sprinkler system, as of Thursday afternoon, everything was up with no alerts. Everything was running well. Thursday afternoon, we had an outside strobe go down outside the magistrate's office. Johnson Controls was contacted immediately. It has to be replaced, and they will actually be here on the 18th, which is tomorrow. They should be here tomorrow to take a look at it. We do have plenty of spare sprinkler heads available as well. As of today, all the lights were working. We do have, except for one, we do have one light. It's called a corridor lighting. If you walk down the halls between the cells, there's a light every 3 or 4 cells. In replacing one of the bulbs, the fixture was dry rotted. It busted. Currently working with Womack, hoping they can find an LED replacement possibly to go in. So as these start going out, they're all still original. From when the building was made, we can start replacing them hopefully with LEDs. Our detention staff are currently down 6 detention officers. Some things we're still working on, painting. Painting has not been completed. One entire pod has been completed, which will be 26 cells, and then some cells here and there. Back when we first started this painting, we were down to about 190 inmates. Our population since November, December, and even in today, I think it was 203. So 232 bed capacity. So when we're hitting those marks above 200, we just don't have free cells that we can tie up. So it is on the list, and speaking with Ronnie, hoping that's something when they come in the week of March 17th, if we haven't gotten to by then, hopefully it's something we can get quite a few people in there working on. Our door repair in the H-Pod, we're having the same issues with everybody else with vendors. I spoke with Assistant County Manager today, and they're having the same problems with some of these vendors. There's been some slight damage to the door. There's no security risk at this point, but it is a manner where the food trays won't lock and stay locked. We've had several vendors come in. We've had vendors cancel, they don't show, but we are still working with, I've got several here listed that we're still working with, trying to get that taken care of. Our Sallyport door that had been damaged and quit working, it was replaced December 23rd. However, there was one piece that they didn't have at the time. I have spoken with them as Custom Door and Gate out of Greensboro every Monday. And again, as of today, it is a priority, and as soon as they get it in, it will be put on. But it's the bottom bar across the gate that goes down to the ground that they still have not been able to get. The rounds, our monitoring, of course, 100% is our goal. We wish we could get there every day. We strive for it. Pulling 2 random reports today from 2 days last week, we had a 93 and a 91. Pulling 2 from the week before, last week when we pulled them, had a 98 and a 91, I think. Of course, that's...
Could you tell us what does that mean, a 93 or 91?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Those, we're required to do rounds to do check on each sales. That is 2 checks per 60 minutes, not to exceed 40 minutes. And then the suicide, people under suicide watch will get 4 checks. So that's them going around, looking in the cell, and then hitting the code, the RFID.
So when you say 93, that means there was an incident where it was 93 minutes between inspections?
No, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's what I want to be sure.
93% of the checks were on time within that time frame. Yes, within that time frame. And there's all kinds of factors. Of course, they are working short. Daytime, there seems to be a lot more going on. We're taking inmates in and out, going back and forth to court. You have medical emergencies. You have disturbances, of course. So there are a lot of factors that affect those. And again, 100% is our goal. You know, will any detention facility ever be 100%? I don't know, but it doesn't mean we're not trying for it.
Just Commissioner Barrow?
Yes, sir.
If I could, just one question. So on the documentation with the 93, 91, did they have it documented? I know that had been an issue in the past we discussed to make sure.
They had. I didn't look at that part from Captain Brown. I didn't.
Okay.
My understanding documents, when they're not hitting the mark, they have to document.
Right, I was just trying to.
They are supposed to, but Captain Brown just brought me the numbers today, and I did not look at that part.
I understand. Thank you.
We had a cell that was damaged a couple weeks ago by an inmate. He was charged. That has been fixed. It was minor damage to the concrete area there. That was fixed, and no issues with that.
And then last week, we had someone break one of the sprinkler heads, so we had to have that replaced, and the inmate was charged with the damage.
It was.
So whenever we can make a case, we'll make a charge.
In-service training for our detention officers coming up for this year. What's mandated by the state is Searching Inmates, Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act, the Detention Mental Health, Cultivating Resiliency, Recognizing and Responding to Hazardous Substances, Detention Officer Safety, Use of Deadly Force and Duty to Intervene, Evidence Handling, Best Practices, and Leading by Example, which is an ethics class. Our inmates also all received training from Southern Health Partners on the implementation of the MAP program. So everybody from the detention staff came in, met with them. They went through overdoses, signs of overdoses again, what to do in a normal situation, then what to do if the patient is on the MAP program as well. Currently working with VIA to try to get some more mental health training. They've offered to come in and do some training, which will be free. And working with them, we're hoping to get them in to do some further training as well for mental health.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Hawk.
You said you're talking about training and MAT identified if someone's on MAT. Is there a way, how is the staff going to know if you have an individual that's on the medical assisted treatment? Do you have a process for that? I don't even know exactly the process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's in the computer for one, but then the staff will also know. And right now we're just having one. It's pretty simple. That's something we'll have to keep reiterating as we add more and more people get on it. They're going to have to be sure they keep passing that information along.
And just, I want to give an update also on education. I'm going to jump just for a second on sworn officers. The BLET program, the basic law enforcement training program at the college. The director had to retire, an assistant director had to retire, so we were supposed to start a academy class in January, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to get somebody hired for the college and be able to start that back at least by June, because it's a 6-month class, and it's taken us 6 months to be able to get this person certified where they can come to work.
Okay.
That's just additional information.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, I was interested in that very thing. You said you've got 3 total involved in the MAT. How many inmates are incarcerated with drug issues now?
We're 203 inmates today. What's been identified, the 2 that were on continuing care were already receiving treatment before they came in. That's under the ADA rules.
Right, I got that, but when you guys bring in most of these folks, you don't have necessarily any information.
Correct.
Historical information on their status.
Correct. That's a screening process that Southern Health Partners does.
Southern Health Partners says, this kid's got a problem. What do you do then? What's the course of action to get them on the mat or deal with potential withdrawals and other things that are associated with addiction?
Yes, sir. That's to their discretion. They go through the screening process. Southern Health Partners deems they're going on the program. They administer. They do the evaluations. They do the observations. That they handle everything. We do have, we would take them back and forth from sales to the nurses, but they decide who's on it. We don't discriminate for any reason. Some jails, we were advised, may not treat you if you're on probation. They may not treat you if you have a drug charge. They may not treat you if you're not a resident of their county. What was decided here was anybody who Southern Health Partners deems needs the medical treatment, that's who gets it.
Well, maybe I'm a little slow, but you got over 200 inmates, and you only have 3 with drug issues?
We have 3, there's all kinds of drugs.
I understand.
We have
Three
3
that
that
are-
Southern Health Partners has deemed need treatment for opioids. I'm sure there are more, but there's a big criteria. I'm sure there are more. You can look at all kinds of statistics, and people may say as much as 65, 70% of the people in there do. But they have to complete everything Southern Health Partners tells them to do. They have to sign all kinds of waivers. They have to do everything Southern Health Partners tells them to do to stay on this program. And some just refuse it, I'm sure. But again, being new, we added 1 that was last week.
Okay. I don't know if I have information you don't have, but I was led to believe that the laws are changed such that it's not optional to choose or not choose to have treatment.
That's why we decided not to discriminate against anyone. But the ADA laws, I know you have to follow. But there are still jails that are doing their own thing. I can only speak for what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. This is a sideline. How did this inmate get access to a sprinkler head? I thought we had to have scissor.
Sprinkler heads are, I'll tell you this with all due respect, I've gone back to the very beginning of the jail, and the thing is they're recessed. But if you have well, I don't want to go into all the details, but you can
reach.
You can trip them, and when you do trip them, then we got to go through the process, shutting the water off, and then going in and resetting everything and replacing the heads and stuff.
That's exactly why I'm interested, Sheriff, because it's a way for the inmates to create
We know that.
unnecessary mayhem.
Yeah.
But how high are these sprinkler heads above their heads?
Again, it's an engineering issue. The people we contracted with, I've already went through this with them. We've got the best tamper, they're not totally tamper-proof, but they're tamper-resistant, but they still do access and do damage those periodically. It's not an everyday thing, but with the fire standards and the way it's set up by engineering, and I didn't set the standards. If I set the standards, they'd have been in a different position and a little bit higher up in a ceiling, so you didn't have to, wasn't easy to get to, but they do. And when they do that, they do that.
It sounds like a big problem to me that they should be up there out of the way where you can't get to them.
With all due respect, it's a problem in the jail system across, probably across this state and across other states. Yes, sir. But it is what it is.
Commissioner Hall?
First of all, I appreciate this report. This is good news to hear that a lot of these things have been taken care of and others are in process. One of the concerns that I want to ask about is, we had the report in, I guess it was April, and then another one came out in September, and we were talking about this. What things have been put in place to ensure that we don't have these issues arise again. I know one of the things that we've done is partnering with our maintenance with the county to get more help over there when you need maintenance. And so I want to ask how that's working, and give me some other instances of some things that have been put in place to ensure that these issues don't come up at our next inspection.
Gotcha. Again, maintenance has been great. If we need something, as soon as they can get over there and get on it, they do. If we have an emergency situation, anything to do with the water, power, they're great to work with. As far as our staff, it has been somewhat of a retraining process at times. It has been holding supervisors more accountable. I personally work with Captain Brown every single day, and we talk every day. I'm asking him questions every day that he's asking his supervisors every day, and it's just more of an accountability. At this point, I feel like I wasn't involved before, so I cannot say, but I know that I'm asking questions every day. I know that I'm checking paperwork every day. There have been officers who have been reprimanded over certain things. So, just getting everybody back to doing their job and doing what is important and making sure they understand. There's been more attention brought to it. The policies and procedures, they're there, and they need to be followed. And if you don't, need to be held accountable.
We appreciate you doing that. I know one of the things we're having to deal with now was the insurance situation. And we'd worked out some procedures with you guys, and they seem to be flowing better. Is that an accurate
I think the reporting is more clear. We talk with our attorney when we have a question. Anytime there's an incident or any question, we're talking with our attorney. We're calling it in, we're reporting in the paperwork electronically. So there's great documentation, or I should say good documentation.
Basically what we're doing is every day we're looking, okay, what happened? Do we have issues?
Yes.
Do we have potential? And that way, that addresses the issue the insurance company had.
That's right.
And so we're trying to be clear and try to be transparent.
We always try to be transparent, but the reporting situation is so much better. And I'm sure if you talk with the risk manager, he would tell you that.
Very good.
As far as filling out, so when the state submits that jail report to you, they then ask, I know on April the 15th of last year, they asked for a plan of correction from you. And then there's actually somebody from the Sheriff's Department filling out that report. Who helps fill that out?
Captain Brown and Lieutenant Stoltz
Okay.
probably filled out that last one would be my.
Is it just the two of them, or is there discussion with others?
I'm pretty sure I talked with Captain Brown on that last one.
Okay. And so typically in the past, there would be people involved in the conversation other than the one that's signing the report.
I'm sure. Yes.
Okay. And I guess on that report, I mean, what have we done to make sure that the information on there is accurate? Have we put policies in place? I did hear you mention that seemed to be a lack of supervision issue perhaps in the past that's been corrected with some things. And I don't know if it deals with the reports or not, but has there been anything to help ensure that those reports are accurate as they go back to the state?
Well, we haven't done another one, but when the next one's done, then I'll certainly be looking over it.
Okay.
Personally.
All right. And, I mean, the reason that's a concern is the report back to the state indicated that the sprinkler heads had been ordered, but actually there was no information to county maintenance at that time. And so, really concerned about the information in the report being correct and just making sure that those policies are in place to make sure that that's accurate, because there certainly was not a trail of information to county maintenance at that time.
Sir. which now, moving forward, I'll be ordering those, county maintenance won't. That's actually a conversation that Billy Booker and I had this week. He set me up directly with the contact out of Eden. Most of the time, they're coming in out of Georgia. That's where the last batch came in out of. Billy was able to negotiate a pretty good savings for us. But, you know, we'll be ordering those from the sheriff's office.
I know the county commissioners asked last time about having an inventory on hand. We took care of that.
The law requires that, Sheriff. Okay.
I think you may inquire about that.
Yeah, I believe the law requires you to have an inventory on
We're going
hand.
to follow
So,
what the law says, sir.
And I guess the other issue with that report was the letter came from the state on April the 15th. We had all the issues with insurance, where insurance went from $161,054 to $351,906.29. All of those issues came up in June, so we had the report in April. We had those issues that, and of course, the insurance issues were failing to report and failing to disclose information. And then September the 5th is when the commissioners received a copy of that April report. And on September the 6th is when it was disclosed that these issues that are legal requirements had not been dealt with. So, you know, what's in place to make sure that we don't have another issue of, what is that, 130 to 40 days go by where these reports from the state are just not dealt with?
Well, first of all, I will say this is, we've been in contact with our county attorney, and he made some excellent recommendations. We spoke with the commissioners. We've come together on that. And not only that is with my chief deputy, he is helping me to make sure he spot checks where he needs to regular, and also with the reports. He does get to see those reports, as I do.
Okay. And so now you've got the supervision issue under control?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
So, Mr. Chair, so
Yes, sir.
we're anticipating then that our next inspection should be pretty good. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Well, we still got the graffiti issue in the one area that, that'll
And we'll probably-
possibly show up if,
Yeah, but it will. I'm sure it will, but we're going to paint as we go. As we get those numbers down, we're going to get on the painting.
right. And then I do appreciate, I know with the graffiti, I believe the message we got back before was there was so much that you couldn't tell which of the two inmates in each cell actually had committed any additional offense as far as property damage, but now you're having damage to property and you are charging folks. And I believe it wasn't happening before. Is that fair to say?
I can't give you a number. I know we've charged in the past for damage to the sprinkler heads, but I can say this, is with the damages, and you're talking about the graffiti, is unless I put a camera in there to watch these persons all the time, I don't know who's going to make a mark. But our goal is to get the graffiti cleaned up and get it back in with regulations of the state standards for the jail inspector. That's what you expect, and that's what we're going to do.
The last three damages that I can think of are two sprinkler heads and the damage to the wall, and all charges were made in all three.
Yes, sir.
Good.
And I know you seem to have a pretty good handle on this, Corporal. So we certainly appreciate that. I mean, it'd be hard to do that if you weren't there all the time as far as answering those questions. So you'd have to have somebody else here to answer questions. So I appreciate you doing that. Anything else, guys? Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Kelly.
Chair. You said you had one pod completely painted, is that correct? How long does it typically take with the inmates you have right now to paint one?
You can paint the cell, depending on how many people you got, within a couple hours. Then you have 48-hour drying period. So with that one, the numbers, that was in the female pod, the numbers were down, so you were able to kind of do a quarter at a time, because you got to leave them out for another 2 hours. We had priced shipping out half of a pod, which would be 26 people at $50 a day for 10, 12 days by the time you moved everybody around to do them, and you were talking, around $15,000, $20,000, just depending on if we could stick to that $50 cost, and then any medical you're responsible for as well.
If the pod has graffiti, does it take longer to paint and try to mask it over?
Wilson told me it's covering pretty easily.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I will pose a question that was posed to me, and that is, if the inmates are painting all that on the walls, could they paint over it?
We actually have talked to some inmates. Captain Brown has, I don't, actually has some painters who were in jail at the time. And yes, we could arrange to have people there for them to help with the work, but we still have the issue of emptying enough cells to do that. And again, leaving them empty for 48 hours to dry.
Mr. Chair, you brought up a good point. When I first came in office, I actually had a painter that was here with us for 6 months, and he wanted to paint, and he was good, and we put him to work. But we don't always know. We also have to trust that person and supervise that person when they're working too. But that was an excellent question. Excellent question.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda, Clyde Albright. I'd asked him to take a look at a contract pertaining to the Paytel system. And Sheriff may have a question or two about the Paytel system, if just some background information on it, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring before you tonight a proposed special revenue fund ordinance and ask you to consider adopting it. And it outlines the procedures for any revenue generated by telephone and technology service contracts, which must be deposited and appropriated and expended in accordance with Chapter 159-17.1, and to also comply with the Government Accounting Standards Board Statement 54. And this ordinance, the template was actually put in the Sheriff's Association Finance Manual. That's where I got it. I'm not the original author of it, and it's being used throughout the state to handle these type of funds.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions of Clyde about this? Commissioner, well, I think Commissioner Richardson, you leaned forward. Is that you look like you were getting ready to talk, or do you want me to call on Commissioner Hall?
I wish I was smart enough to know what all of those statutes and regulations you just went through were, but I don't. I think we're going to get a little more explanation, so I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Hall.
So you said this was drafted from the North Carolina Sheriff's Association manual?
Yes, they have a finance manual, and this type of special fund ordinance is used by many sheriff's departments to keep an accounting of the funds that come in, and as they're deposited, the finance director deposits them in this special fund account, and then the board decides how they're to be expended under Chapter 159.
You said, that's what I was trying to understand. Statement 54 requires that these funds account for revenues and are legally restricted. Is that right?
Yes,
To a
some of
specific
these funds are restricted by statute on how you can spend them.
Okay. So
But this one does not, that we're dealing with tonight, the Paytel system.
okay,
It's not restricted.
It's not restricted. Correct.
Go.
Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Clyde, I just want to try to bring some clarity to what everything you're saying is here, because as I was looking through the packet, so essentially the PayTel, that is the system at the sheriff's office where people can take classes and text message and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yes, the inmate telephone and electronic system, the entertainment system, I think they provide them with a iPad. They can watch movies, take courses.
And correct me, or let me know if I'm right here. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get in compliance with the regulation as laid out in the Sheriff's Association manual, because at some point, once this Intel tablet was introduced, the county has yet to adopt the proper account. Is that?
Well, it's been going into the finance office. This is a special fund that you can track it better.
So essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially what we're doing is instead of this funds going into what was previously known as the canteen fund, it would be going into this type of fund here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Albright. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I believe there was some problems with the way the contract was set up and then extended. I think one extension did not go through legal. Is that right? And then the name on the contract is an invalid entity.
I've reviewed the contracts. 4 of them were signed on behalf of the sheriff's office, and they need to be signed on behalf of Rockingham County to be a legally binding contract against the county. So what I propose to do is correct that with an amendment to these 4 particular contracts. PayTel is one of them, and there are 3 others where the contract was signed by the sheriff's office.
So I believe actually the entity on there is not a legal entity that's set up. Is that right?
That's correct. The sheriff's office is not a legal entity that can bind the county. Only the county can spend money.
And it ended up being about 20% of the contracts over the last year.
Out of 20 contracts, 4 were
Okay. Yeah.
efficient in that regard.
And I guess, Sheriff, as far as the PayTel system, the education, the video games, the movies, is that available to every inmate?
Every inmate.
Every inmate that submits funds is able to, gets a tablet, or every inmate gets a tablet, and then some that put money into an account have access to the entertainment.
For the canteen, yes.
Okay. And so, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Sheriff.
And Clyde, as far as this fund and these tablets, I believe it's also that the free part is available, I guess, pretty much in a lot, if not all, of the jails. Is that right?
I'm not sure how many of the jails have this.
Okay. But I believe the sheriff determines the pay parts that are added to the system.
Yes, it's a contract with the provider.
Okay.
Negotiated.
And so, ultimately, what we had was legal and illegal immigrants had access to these things if they were in custody and put money into the system, is what it appears.
I saw nothing in the contract that would prohibit any inmate based on his legal status. I mean, they're all illegal. They've done something illegal.
Right.
But, yeah, I didn't see anything in there that specifically said a illegal alien could not have access to
Right.
it.
No, I believe he told us everybody had access to it, so that's kind of interesting. Okay. Gentlemen, we have that adopted for the money that comes into that account to be spent in the discretion of commissioners. Now, as far as the money that's in the canteen, which, my thought, I mean, quite frankly, it came up because it was $400,000, and I asked the question what kind of candy bars we're selling to have that kind of money, and then found out that all this is going on. The money that's in the account, what happens with it at this point? We adopt this.
It's restricted by what the Board of Commissioners comes up with for it to be spent on.
Okay, so anything that came in from Paytel would then
Be
go into
discretion.
this fund?
Either discretion of the board like this or through the budget process.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. All right. Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the ordinance.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hall. Do we have a second?
You do?
Second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
He said that he was going to go into these 4 contracts. Do we need any kind of action on that?
I think
To
he
give
would
you
just-
authority to do that, or?
I would just ask that he bring them back because we're supposed to approve contracts, is that right?
That's correct.
And,
So those,
I can send a letter to all 4 of these providers and ask them to amend it.
we've just got to get to where we're following the law when contracts are.
that'll come to us for approval then, as it should be.
I'll get a list of the 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Clyde. Next is new business. I know one thing I'll mention, I talked to Lance earlier today. For folks at home, we did have a budget workshop about 2 weeks ago. At the workshop, initial projections from a budget standpoint are that, we're about $3 million due to inflation in the hole, which is not really uncommon due to inflation to be in the hole, but one of the things we talked about as we have retirements between now and the time we actually have budget discussions, putting a freeze on non-critical positions. And I believe Lance just asked for us to give him some directive there tonight, and that would take care of that. And of course, if there's other things that come up, he can always bring something back to us, but that'll help with anything going into this budget and kind of tighten the reins a little bit. So do you want a motion or?
Yeah, just give me direction to do exactly what you said, keep an eye and make sure that we fill the critical ones, but the ones that aren't critical that we deem necessary that's not, we'll
Okay.
hold off on those.
Did you?
I'll try if you like.
Well, I think if you I think he just laid it out, just.
I think the motion should care of that, but to move in this direction as an economy measure to deal with this shortfall, but ask you and give you the right to decide what is prudent.
Sure.
In terms of.
Critical, use the word critical, that's.
And certainly some positions you don't want to go vacant.
Yes,
So I make that motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Richardson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kellum. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other new business? Okay, Commissioner comments, Commissioner Kellum.
As we approach this week, we look to go into bad weather. So I would just encourage people to prepare. If you're looking more into ice, flashlights, batteries, water. Also, take care of your pets. If you're cold outside, I'm sure they are too. So prepare for any weather, and if all possibilities, stay off the roads. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate everyone who came out tonight and who tuned in. Yeah, there are a lot of things happening, but I'm tickled to have Ms. Ellington come tonight and talk about this project that we're undertaking. I'm glad to hear that the MAT program has started at the jail. Rockingham County for years has been one of the worst counties for opioid deaths. And so as we're working with these things to make that better, I appreciate it. And I also want to thank Commissioner Houston Barrow for his participation, his efforts on behalf of the community. It just means so much to me to know that we're dealing with this. So thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson.
Well, I'd like to echo Commissioner Hall's comments. I'm glad to see that we have some ongoing action to deal with the opioid problem. That it's not that we were ignoring it, it was just getting an action plan and taking forth what's going on. And that several things are going on in addition to that. And our health department, and certainly Commissioner Barrow and our efforts with the BHUC are indicative of that. I'd also like to commend the food drive that was presented this Mrs. Fish and Mr. Jake, and I think that's indicative of the nature of the citizens in this county, their volunteerism and their concern for their fellow citizens. And I echo Jeff's comments over there. Mr. Commissioner, the weather may or may not be bad, but in any event, I encourage you to be prepared. And as usual, I'd like to point out one employee of the county, and that's Ms. Wanda Lane. She came to us in 1985 and has been working in a variety of things, including with our voters, but has been a long-time participant in our veterans program. And if you talk to anybody that's dealt with Wanda Lane, they talk about her professionalism and how concerned she is. And I think our veterans program is in great shape. And it's not that we don't want to do better, but she puts forth the maximum effort and she takes care of our veterans. So I'd sure like for all of us, if you see Wanda Lane, say something nice to her because she's doing good things for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to Commissioner Hall and thank you to Commissioner Richardson for your recognition. I appreciate that. If anyone is interested in anything pertaining to opioid disorder in the county, I serve on our Health and Human Services Board, but also on the Rockingham County Recovers Board, which meets at the Emergency Services Building behind the Sheriff's Office the last Wednesday of every month at 5:30. If you would like to be involved with being part of the solution, or if you have concerns or questions, we'd love to have you come out to our meetings. We usually have a packed house. School board member Butler back there has been to many of these meetings, and he could attest that it's usually a packed house over there. So we do have a lot of people who are concerned about these things in the county and who are trying to work together with different nonprofits and with the county and other organizations, faith-based organizations, to try to bring a solution to the county. So I appreciate that recognition from you gentlemen. I'd like to recognize our elected officials we had in the House tonight. So we had Sheriff Sam Page with us, and we have Philip Butler from School Board. And I believe with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank everyone for coming out and tuning in. Do want to offer congratulations to Jason Ross. He's the coach for Reidsville High School basketball team. Jason has been listed on and recognized as an outstanding coach on some list, and Jason works real hard. Appreciate everything he does for the Reidsville community. And also that team is currently ranked 17th in the country, which is quite a recognition. So do we anticipate any action after the closed session?
No, sir.
Okay. So with that, we will ask for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 143, 318.11A5 to instruct negotiating agents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hall.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrow. All in favor? Aye. So we will be going into closed session again. Don't anticipate any action. So thank you.